It's absolutely no secret that I like theme parks. I always have. And one of my favorite pastimes is reading theme park news, leaks, and rumors. I know, I'm really cool. As a medium that has existed well over a century, there are many fascinating theme park stories, and the Disney parks have existed for almost 70 years, so there's a lot of history there. The Disney parks all over the world have gone through numerous changes and expansions, and the one I want to talk about today is the new Fantasyland expansion in the Magic Kingdom in Disney World in Florida.
Explore sprawling kingdoms and make memories that you'll never forget at the new Fantasyland.
And to celebrate the opening of said expansion, a dragon flew over Magic Kingdom and then disappeared forever. Of course, I need to establish the context, so strap in. Fantasyland is probably the most famous Disney park land. It's where the castle is. It's where you can find a lot of the classic Disney characters, including the princesses, and most of the rides there are suitable for all ages. But because of that, Fantasyland is often the most crowded and unpleasant land to navigate, especially in the middle of the day when most kids are awake. You'll often be surrounded by strollers, and most of the land is concrete with very little shading. But in the early 2020s, Fantasyland underwent a major expansion and overhaul.
Nearly doubling the size of Fantasyland to include more of your favorite princesses.
This was going to basically double the size of Fantasyland, transporting you to the homes of some of your favorite Disney princesses, and you could not only meet them, but fully immerse yourselves in their worlds.
You'll meet princesses in their own fairy tale worlds. You'll be immersed in the sights, the sounds, and the magic that make every princess story so memorable.
Even though this was announced before Universal Studios opened the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, you can't deny that this was kind of positioned as some attempt to compete against it. Since Harry Potter opened, Disney has in many ways desperately tried to capture that lightning in a bottle success, because it wasn't just the rides that were popular, it was everything. The food, the merch, just being there, everything. Now, every theme park expansion has to be a fully immersive land based on a singular IP designed to make you feel as if you stepped into the IP itself. And while these expansions often only have no more than 3 attractions, sometimes only 1 or 2, it makes up for it with themed food, merch, and an overall feeling of being in the world. This is probably best seen in lands like Pandora, the World of Avatar, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but unless it's like, a brand new theme park, all major expansions that have followed this formula. And not even just Disney, obviously, it's Universal's MO too, since they basically popularized the format. But anyways, back to Fantasyland. The Fantasyland expansion, dubbed New Fantasyland, was announced at the 2009 D23 Expo, though it was rumored and leaked prior to that. The announcement is actually incredibly funny because half of what was announced didn't end up actually happening, which is kind of a common thing for D23 Expos at this point. I sure can't wait to watch a show at the Main Street Theater after hopping over from Epcot and riding its Mary Poppins ride. So, a lot of what was announced were meet and greets, but these were sort of enhanced meet and greets with a heavier emphasis on interactive activity and not just getting your picture taken with a pageant girl dressed as Snow White. So for example, at Cinderella's chateau, you could help her get ready for the ball by helping her learn to dance, and then you would watch her dress magically transform into her classic ball gown. At Aurora's cottage, you could make birthday cards for her, considering she was sleeping during her birthday and all that. And then there was Enchanted Tales with Belle, where you could help retell the story of Beauty and the Beast to Belle herself. In addition, there was going to be a brand new Pixie Hollow area, which would have included a play area and yes, meet and greets with Tinkerbell and her friends. The only true new ride announced for this expansion was one based on The Little Mermaid, which did end up actually opening, but it was also a clone of a ride that was also being built in California, so it's not even an exclusive ride, and it came with a meet and greet, obviously. They also announced they were going to move and clone the Dumbo ride, but that's obviously not new either. Now, you may have noticed that these announcements were very princess heavy, which was the chief complaint of this announcement. Now, the princesses are one of Disney's most successful brands, and the characters themselves are among the most coveted and sought after, so it makes sense to give them their own dedicated space, not only to meet them, but spend time with them. But a lot of people complained that the stuff announced was too much geared towards those little girls, which of course leads into the whole gendered marketing rabbit hole, but that's not what this video is about. There were some valid concerns, like the fact that literally only one new ride was announced, and it was just a retelling of The Little Mermaid at that. Of the things that were announced, only The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast areas actually came to fruition, with the latter including both its enhanced meet and greet and 2 new highly themed restaurants. The Dumbo area remained too, and even expanded, taking over the area originally bookmarked for Pixie Hollow, which was also axed. But in place of the Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty experiences was the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, designed to target the complaints of both there being too much targeted towards girls and there not being enough rides announced. And sure, it would have been nice to have, one more e-ticket as part of the expansion, but the Mine Train is actually a really good ride and continues to be one of the Magic Kingdom's most popular attractions. Plus, it has animatronics, which is always nice. Of course, with this change, Disney still needed to find a space to house the princesses, and because Snow White was going to be getting a new ride, it was decided to close down Snow White's Scary Adventures and turn it into a dedicated princess meet and greet space. Though it was the standard variety of meet and greets, not the enhanced ones that was originally promised. One more thing I need to point out about this expansion is the decision to turn the old Skyway station into a highly themed Tangled restroom and rest area, because why did they spend so much money to make the restroom so highly themed? But anyways, like I mentioned, it's pretty clear that Disney was hoping that this would at least be an answer to Harry Potter's success. They even gave Fantasyland its own signature beverage to compete with butterbeer, and this drink is so funny to me. It's supposed to look like beer, but it's frozen apple juice with, I think, marshmallow syrup in it, and it has this foam topping. But it also misunderstands what made butterbeer so popular in the first place. Butterbeer is something that the characters in one of the most beloved media properties of all time regularly drink. This is weirdly flavored apple juice. It wasn't even exclusively made for Fantasyland. It was actually first sold in Cars Land, but whatever. I don't think it's sold there anymore. After being announced in 2009, New Fantasyland was officially completed in 2014 with the opening of the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. However, Disney held the grand opening ceremony for the land in late 2012. That's when the bulk of the land, aka the Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast expansions, were complete. And on the day before the land officially opened, some guests were able to see a dragon fly over the Magic Kingdom, and Disney really wanted you to know that this was going to happen. New Fantasyland was very hyped by Disney before it opened, which is obvious because it was essentially a brand new land, and that's always a big deal in theme parks. It was billed as the Magic Kingdom's largest expansion, and as of recording, the park hadn't seen a substantial addition until 2023 when the Tron roller coaster opened. And while new stuff is coming to the park, like the Princess and the Frog ride in 2024, and maybe whatever that weird thing that they announced at the 2022 D23 Expo, but it was more than a decade before the park got something brand new it could really promote, which I'm sure is by design. Of the 4 parks in Disney World, Magic Kingdom is easily the one that's least in need of help, so I get it. And since this is 2012, we need a good viral marketing strategy, baby. But first, let me back up even more. I promise this time traveling is going somewhere. In the summer of 2012, the Disney Parks fandom was put into a tizzy when some photos of this dragon-looking contraption being tested at a small airport in California leaked. It was traced back to Disney Imagineering, and while everyone involved signed NDAs, a passerby managed to snap photos of it and post it on the internet because obviously something like this is going to grab attention. And while it wasn't captured on camera, the witnesses did say that they could see the dragon shoot out fireworks of some sort. Then fans remembered a patent that Disney filed in 2010 for a type of ultralight aircraft designed to resemble a dragon, and that this was it, obviously. But at the time, most fans didn't actually assume this was going to be for Fantasyland. You see, the year prior, Disney announced that it had acquired the theme park rights to James Cameron's Avatar, which at the time only had one film and wasn't owned by Disney. And one of the major elements of the Avatar film were the Ekrons, or the Banshees, which are basically dragons. Sure, the device being tested looked almost nothing like the Banshees as seen in the movie, but what was seen clearly was not going to be the final product. The only problem, however, was by this point no progress, at least externally, was being made on the Avatar Land project. Disney announced the Avatar Land for Magic Kingdom in 2011, and construction didn't start until 2014. Plus, the Banshees didn't breathe fire, and as we know, this contraption could. essentially. Despite most Disney Parks fans' ambivalence towards the Avatar project at this time, a lot of them got really excited theorizing over what this could mean for theme park entertainment. Like, I found this one theme park forum post, and it's really funny to see how bitter a lot of these people are over the prospect of Avatar coming to the parks, especially considering how popular that land is now. It's also funny to see them argue over what this thing could be used for. Some people suggested that it could be potentially used for Fantasmic, which no. Some rumor mongers even suggested that it was to be a part of a brand new nighttime show. I like this person who alleged that someone they know, presumably an Imagineering, told them that the dragon was going to be for the Magic Kingdom. But a lot of the rumbling did end up shifting towards this thing being for Magic Kingdom, though no one was sure in what capacity quite yet. Basically, the way this thing would work is that a pilot would sit on top of the aircraft, which is obviously designed to resemble a dragon, and things like the wing slapping and the head moving was to distract guests from the actual mechanics of the thing. Of course, it's hard to disguise a literal aircraft, but that's why most people assumed this was going to be a nighttime thing. And things went kind of dark on the dragon front for a bit. But then, in November 2012, the Disney Parks blog made a post about a potential dragon sighting. This was made by one of their editors, Gary, and he talked about his love of all things dragons, and anyone who was clued into the goings-on of the Disney Parks knew exactly where this was going. It obviously had something to do with that dragon that was being tested, but the question was, what exactly would it be used for, and where? This also coincided with the launch of a Tumblr blog because it was 2012, remember? And it was this blog's first post that explicitly tied the dragon to New Fantasyland. And miraculously, the Disney Dragons Tumblr is still up and running, and that made the story much easier to piece together. What followed next is certainly strange. It's a mixture of posts just showcasing the author's love of dragons, Disney ones specifically, and then alleged evidence of a dragon out there in the wild. There's a lot here, so I'm only going to focus on the important stuff. The first was this alleged piece of 8mm film that showed a giant hatched egg and what appeared to be dragon footprints around it. These are included with photos that are marked with the WED Enterprises logo. WED, with Walter Elias Disney, is the former name of Imagineering, by the way. Now, according to this post, the egg was found in the land that would become Fantasyland, immediately tying this dragon to the land even more. Now, the first real footage of the dragon came from this hilarious video of Florida partygoers.
Guys, look at that! Right there! This is never, you were never gonna forget this.
Reading the comments on these videos is genuinely hilarious to me because I can't tell if these people think this is legit or not. Like, do they think that's a real dragon in the video? And then there's also this one in a farm that's framed like the video game Slender.
Get out of here!
At least my barn's okay.
And then it was confirmed that the dragon had made its way to Magic Kingdom because the blog posted photos of dragon footprints all around the land. Then this obviously doctored image of the dragon flying over the castle was posted. And then social media editor Gary posted a couple of videos detailing his search for the dragon. These were delisted from the official Disney Parks page, but thankfully a kind soul managed to re-upload them so I could watch them. And these videos are cute. The first shows Gary asking various Fantasyland characters about any potential dragon sightings.
Like, oh, it's the fairest of them all! To find this dragon.
Oh, a dragon? Oh, how dreadful.
Do you know anything about that?
I know of no such spell and do not have time for the rubbish of which you speak.
He then speaks to an anonymous source.
And in fact, it's rumored you might even know where I can spot it.
Well, Gary, I don't want to make any promises, but as you know, lots of magical things happen around here all the time.
You know, I couldn't quite figure out who this was, but thankfully the only comment on this video lets us know that it's Mickey. Thank you, Wisely1276. And side note, it's so funny to me seeing people in the comments of the blog post still genuinely think that this is something related to a potential Beastly Kingdom revival. If you want to know more Beastly Kingdom, it's out there. This is not what this video is about. But yeah, this anonymous source very explicitly ties the dragon to the Enchanted Forest in New Fantasyland. One final video was posted very clearly showing the dragon flying over Magic Kingdom, and so the stage was set. It was one final post, but it's basically a fluff piece, but the final paragraph alludes to the fact that this dragon may not necessarily be in one spot for too long. That's foreshadowing. By this point, we were rapidly approaching the grand opening of New Fantasyland, and so those lucky guests who were visiting for the first day of New Fantasyland would be treated to a dragon sighting, right? No, they weren't. New Fantasyland's grand opening was on December 6, 2012. But on December 5th, the day before, Disney held a media event. Disney usually invites media to experience new additions before they open to the public so that they can preview and promote it. They also generally get preferential treatment compared to the general public, and yes, Disney did close the park early for this day. And on that very night, the music started playing and something spectacular appeared in the air. A dragon began flying over Fantasyland. It even breathed fire. Straight up, this was pretty awesome to see. It actually looks fairly realistic up in the sky, even with the close-up shots officially released by Disney. Its head and wings move with such fluidity, and the moment when the fireworks shoots out is really awe-inspiring. Plus, they did a really impressive job of disguising the more mechanical elements of the machine, illuminating the dragon with a spotlight from below, and playing loud, bombastic music to drown out its engine. And then the dragon was never seen again. In retrospect, it's kind of astonishing how much Disney fumbled the bag with this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, I totally understand how this wouldn't be feasible for long-term use. I'll get into that in a bit. But you could have at least made it available for public view, not an exclusive party for VIPs. Especially after extensively promoting it. At the end of the day, I think this event in particular really underscores the disparity between Disney media events and the regular park experience. I mean, I get it. You want the people who are writing about your new theme park expansion to have the most ideal experience possible. But isn't it a little weird for them to not have an authentic experience? And don't get me wrong, this is still something Disney engages with in its media previews. Perhaps most famously as of late with Star Wars Land. The land itself is built with various platforms and mini stages for a planned stunt show, but the only time said stunt show involving Rey and Kylo Ren happened was during media previews. And then for the opening of Rise of the Resistance in Florida, they had literal drones dressed up as X-Wings, and they jumped into hyperspace. But the key difference is that these weren't hyped up by Disney's social media. Not to be dramatic, but at the end of the day, it just seems pretty tone deaf. In fairness, Disney did call it a one-time appearance, but I think that there was still some hope that it would make some public appearance in the future. I mean, I get why this thing was never used regularly. It seems like a legal team's nightmare. For one thing, this is someone piloting an aircraft, which is already an incredibly dangerous proposition. And then you're doing it in a theme park, which is full of potential obstacles, and this is done at night, making it even more hazardous. Not to mention the fact that the thing's being illuminated from below, virtually blinding the pilot. It's just an accident waiting to happen. But it would be nice to have something happen on occasion, just not regularly. Unfortunately, we did get a semi-recent update about the dragon, albeit indirectly. A video involving Imagineering's free-roaming robot initiative was filmed within its offices, and in one shot you can see something hanging above the office cubicles. Yep, that's the dragon just up there, still with its fireworks launcher attached. And very funnily, to me at least, you can still see the wheels for when it lands. Disney already had used ultralight aircrafts in its Kaleidoscope show in Epcot in the 80s, and unfortunately that did end after a fatal accident involving one of the pilots, so I can see why they're hesitant to use this on a regular basis. But I still think the point stands. If they were going to do it for one time, at least make it available for the public to view. But anyways, that's just a quick look at a niche moment in theme park history, and until then, I'll be doing thorough research on the time Disney decided to cover the castle in toilet paper.